Well, Sahar Aziz is Professor of Law from Texas and A&M University School of Law and a non-resident fellow of the Brookings Doha Center. She joins us from Dallas. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. What do you make of what you've heard from Donald Trump today?
Well, it sounded like a campaign speech where he was only interested in his base in terms of who he was speaking to. And that's very untraditional because many new presidents will go out of their way to assure those voters who didn't vote for him that he is the president for all Americans. And that was not the tone, and that was not the rhetoric that he used. And it was quite clear to people who didn't vote for him that he was going to be the president for his base, who even the way he talked about them in the movement are primarily the far right or the poor white working class, and arguably even a large number of white supremacists. And so I think that leaves over 50% of the voters, because he didn't get the popular vote, worried that Trump will not be the president for all Americans.
There are people that will be saying that he has won now, he is in office now, and it benefits all Americans if he does well. It's just time to get behind him.
Well, I think it's difficult to do that if you have a president who, for example, uses the term, "we will unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism," and goes out of his way to make that point in an inaugural speech, which is essentially code for crusades. And this is the same type of talk that you hear in the past when you talk about manifest destiny of God's people, and God will look out for us, and we will fight, those evil Islamic terrorists. And those types of messages, at least for Muslim Americans, signal that he may very well follow through on his promises to create a Muslim registry, to ban Muslims, and to possibly even intern them, which is what some of his base have called for. And he also made absolutely no effort to assure Mexicans that they are part of the American public and the people that he represents, notwithstanding that he called them rapists and criminals. And so he clearly made no effort to at least signal to the public that whatever harmful things I may have said during the campaign season, that was just campaigning. I'm now the president for all of you. That was not the tone of his speech.
America does still seem so bitterly divided, even on this day. What would it take for someone like yourself, or for somebody, for the people that do feel he wasn't speaking to them, to really feel their fears are assuaged?
I think first he needs to make appointments that show that the people that will be in leadership in his regime are more moderate, are more reasonable, do not have a far-right political agenda. It's not a diverse cabinet. It's not diverse political appointments in terms of race, in terms of ethnicity, and particularly in terms of gender. And I think he has to change his rhetoric, which he's clearly shown, at least through his inaugural speech, that he is not going to do that. He's very isolationist. He's very hyper-masculine and uses a lot of bravado. And I think that is purposeful so that he can continue to tailor to this very far-right base. And that's not going to comfort a significant number of a country that, we're talking about 330 million people. And I don't think the majority of them feel that President Trump is interested in listening to them and representing their interests.
Sahar Aziz, we're going to have to leave it there, but really do appreciate your time. Thank you.